I'm still alive, and as you probably already know, tomorrow, the first episode of the brand new season of Phineas and Ferb comes out. So, to prepare for this, I decided to rewatch Season 1 from all the way back in 2011. It was the season I had watched the least, and when going back through, I actually found an episode I had never seen before. I'm so excited for the new episodes, but today I wanted to take a look back at my 5 favorite episodes from the first season of Phineas and Ferb. So when I watched through these episodes, I decided to give each one an immediate rating out of 10. I wanted to get a good metric of how I felt in the moment, and not just relying on memory later on. And that has left me with a clear top 5. Now, by the way, I rated all these episodes in the context of Phineas and Ferb as a whole, not just cartoon shows. Otherwise, these episodes would have all been like 9s or 10s for me. But after finishing Season 1, I was left with 3 9s and just 2 10s. So let's start with number 5, Episode 1, Candace Loses Her Head. If you don't know, most Phineas and Ferb episodes are broken up into 2 10-minute halves, each one taking place on a different day of the summer. So I'm just ranking each individual story. And this one is the second half of the pilot episode. So in this episode, the Flynn Fletchers travel to Mount Rushmore for Candace's birthday, and Phineas and Ferb put her face on the mountain. And despite this still being episode 1, this is the second time they go to Mount Rushmore in the series. In the first half, the roller coaster gets launched to Mount Rushmore, then they literally come back the next day. I guess the writers must have just been to South Dakota or something. Now, Phineas and Ferb is perhaps most known for its extremely iconic songs. There's not one in the roller coaster story, so the first one is here. And I challenge you to name what the first song in Phineas and Ferb was. I'll wait. Well, I'll be very impressed if you got this, but it's this random dream sequence that Candace has where some guys in suits sing to her about it being her birthday. The song itself isn't memorable, and I think it's just called Candace's birthday song, but it did start off a fantastic collection of music. So why did I rate this episode so highly? Well, put simply, it's really funny. And they start playing with the formula pretty much immediately. For example, Major Monogram made Perry come all the way back to Danville for his briefing, only to tell him that Doof was at Mount Rushmore anyway. Also, there's this great joke where the dad excitedly tells the mom that he found the most brilliant parking spot, only for it to zoom out into a wide shot to show that he is at the very back of a gigantic parking lot. I've been chuckling about that one for years now. Alright, moving on to my 4th favorite episode of Phineas and Ferb, precisely 1 episode later. The second story of episode 2, Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror. So this was the 4th story of Phineas and Ferb, but it was the first one to have a really good A and B plot. It is potentially Doofenshmirtz's most iconic backstory, with him being forced to be a lawn gnome for his family. This episode is also the first appearance of Buford, who was in a pure bully role for the first half of Season 1. As for the main plot, Phineas and Ferb build a beach in their backyard, and Ferb sings the first real song of the series, Backyard Beach, which is pretty impressive that they struck gold so early on, given that this was just the 3rd song of the series. Also, for some reason, the full version of the Perry the Platypus theme song is in the end credits. So yeah, a lot of great hits really early on in the series. But my 3rd favorite is a bit later. Number 3, One Good Scare Ought to Do It. This was episode 9 of Phineas and Ferb, and the second 2-parter they did. The plot revolves around Isabella having hiccups, so Phineas and Ferb build a haunted house to scare them out of her. Meanwhile, Dr. Doofenshmirtz attempts to honor the last wish of his old mentor and destroy his old hideout. Now, the reason I ranked this episode so highly was because it was the first time they really start to lean into absurdist humor. These jokes are some of my favorite of the entire series, and while the absurdism didn't begin here, there were some real great ones. For example, when Perry is getting his briefing, Major Monogram tells him that they have 2 theories of where Doofenshmirtz disappeared off to. Either he was kidnapped by elves and taken to the Corn Realm, or he was at the exact coordinates pinpointed by satellite. Major Monogram presents the elf theory first, as though it is the more likely option. Also, I want to correct one error I made. Earlier I said Doof's mentor's last wish was for him to destroy the old hideout. That was actually his second to last wish. His last wish was to set fire to the sun, which even Doofenshmirtz acknowledged was a pretty stupid idea. Moving on to my first 10 of the season, my second favorite episode, Flop Stars. This was the second story of episode 4, and it also features the show's most iconic song, Gitcha Gitcha Goo. And wow, this episode accomplished so much in just 10 minutes. It starts with a little kid singing terribly, then getting punched by a mechanical boxing glove, followed by an upbeat host saying that he sucked, but maybe you won't. Then Candace tries to enter the singing competition, but is kind of upstaged by Phineas and Ferb, who are attempting to become one-hit wonders. This is one of the most iconic stories in the whole show, and this entire episode is just really fun. There's some great jokes, and of course, the amazing song. However, it is beat out by just 1 episode. My favorite episode of Phineas and Ferb Season 1 is Dude, We're Getting the Band Back Together. This is episode 14, and it's a 2-parter. And it is just so amazing. First off, it is back-to-back amazing songs, with Danny's Story, Fabulous, Ain't Got Rhythm, and Snuck Your Way Right Into My Heart. And this one just has so much heart to it. Candace and Phineas and Ferb team up to help their dad give their mom the best anniversary ever. While Candace keeps the mom distracted, the boys reassemble the 3 members of their parents' favorite band, Love Handle. Then they put on a huge concert right in their front yard, which, by the way, is one of the few inventions their mom ever sees, but she doesn't question how they put it together. All the while, Meanwhile, in the B plot, Doofenshmirtz is going all out to prepare the perfect birthday party for his 16-year-old daughter, Vanessa. When he was a child, no one really cared about his birthday, so he always tries to go the extra mile for his daughter. This episode is just so sweet, and while it shows that the show is very funny, it also shows that it has a heart alongside that funny bone. Now all we need is 205 more bones, a ton of vital organs, some muscles, sentience, and then it will be alive. Although that last part might not be too hard, given that Phineas and Ferb found Frankenstein's brain. Sorry for the dumb joke, I do puns when I'm excited. Alright, well that's it for today. The first episode of the new Phineas and Ferb premieres tomorrow at 4 p.m. on Disney Channel. Then the next 10 episodes will be out on Friday on Disney+. This is not sponsored, I just want everyone to go watch it. But anyway, thanks for watching, and Nate, I'll see you tomorrow.